Recording is in progress. Good evening, everybody. Today is not Tuesday. It's actually Wednesday, January 3rd of 2022. Today, we will be going over week 14 Django CRUD. Basically, full stack Django. We're going to be utilizing the Django admin panel. Quick question. Have y'all used the admin panel yet? Is that something they've covered in the other classes?
We were introduced to it last class with Chad, but I don't think we used it in our challenge or our after the class.
Okay. Yeah, so part of your challenge today will basically be running back through this lecture. But I would like to get y'all a little familiar with the admin panel. It's not very complicated. It's just a way straight into your app. Similar to how we've got the Django Shell Plus or whatever it's called. You can dig right into the brain and play with it. This is doing the same thing, but with a UI. So it's kind of handy. It almost, I mean, truly, honestly, you if you wanted to build something very basic, and didn't want to spend any time developing a front end and just giving something to someone. Let's say an HR team said, "Oh, we need a way to, create new people." You could just build a database for people and hand them your Django application. Say, "Yeah, just go to the admin panel. I made you a super user," and they could just interact with it then and there. You would not need any templates. You wouldn't need anything. I don't know if that's necessarily the intention, but that is something you could do. It works pretty well. It's fairly easy. You don't have to be a coder to understand it. We'll also be talking about extending templates. Another question, have we done this? I think I was out for a lot of the HTML stuff. Have we started a template as a base and then extended it somewhere else and utilized that at all with HTML? Anybody? If it sounds weird.
No, just templates. I don't think we extend.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be doing that as well. It's not something I'm mega comfortable with. HTML is not, I mean, it's not complicated, but these the extensions and bases, they kind of confuse me a little bit at first, but I can follow it. We can all follow it. We'll all be all right. So that way. It's going to be in the way. All right, now I'm good. Okay, so we talked about the kind of three things we're gonna be going over. Basically, the big stuff we're doing today that we haven't really touched on as much. Setting up Django admin, using it actually to insert some data, and extending templates. In addition to that, we will be using at some point in here Django forms, which are kind of cool if you want to use them. You don't have to, but they're here and we're showing them off. I've never used them before going over this lecture, so I think they're kind of cool if you want to do that. So as you do with any new Django project, this is going to be a review for everybody. Create a virtual environment. Easy. Start that virtual environment. We in it. Pip install Django. I need to update this because this right here you can't do unless you pip install Django admin, can you? I'm 99% sure. Yeah, mine doesn't like that. Does it work though? Yeah, no, it does work. Okay, disregard y'all. Okay, so we created a project called My Site. Let's get up into My Site. Oopsies, I just need to paste. And open up this file tree for you file tree using types. There's no shame in it, but it's dumb. We will now create an app. We're gonna call it blog. Like any good lecture instruction tutorial, we're gonna be building a blog site. So we're at the level of manage.py. We can run manage or Python manage.py, start app blog, create the blog application. We get our usual Django skeleton, and now we're going to get our model set up. So doing this, we're going to say that a blog has an author, title, text, published date, and blog models.py. So let's get into there. My site, we've got blog here. Why does this keep opening? I hate that. Is this, why is it doing this, y'all? I don't want to close that. Okay, we're good now. All right, models.py within our application blog. From Django conf, we're going to take settings. From Django DB, we're going to import models. Here is our post class, as we talked about. We're going to have an author, a title, a text, and publish date. Author is going to be a foreign key to a user. That'll be important later. Title, char field, text field, and then date time, easy peasy. And then when you look it up, we're just going to return the title. So paste all that. And now that our models are created, let's make the migration, put it into our database. Oh, it's trying to catch us, but we're smarter than that, y'all. We're not going to make that mistake. We know better. We're going to go into my site, as you always do, go into settings, and let's add our application. I don't know why this isn't automated. Seems like not a good reason not to just, when you run create application, to place into this, but maybe you want to develop while it's not installed in the main instance. It's fine. I don't like it. And while we're at it, verify our database. We will be using this SQLite 3 database called db.sqlite 3. So when we make our migrations, I expect that to be generated as well as a migrations directory. Looks good. There's our migrations directory. And there's our db.sqlite 3. Doesn't really tell us to migrate, but I'm pretty sure we have to migrate. Okay. So if we want it actually in the database, we do have to migrate. Okay, cool. So Django admin. One of the best features of Django is the ability to use their built-in admin dashboard to CRUD models in your database. Today, we're going to be using blog/admin.py, which is here. So it doesn't have much in here, but so to bring it to our admin UI, we import it here and then we register it, which is what all this notes say. Y'all can read, but I like to say it. Oh shoot, that's right. I got ahead of myself. We should have waited to migrate. I wonder if I need to. Does that need to be run again? I don't think it needs to be run again. I think we're fine. Okay, I'm good. I didn't break anything. Over here, I'm just going to start up the server. Python manage.py run server. Let's go here. Yeah. So we can just paste that there. If y'all really want, I think you can also just get away with post. Yeah. However you want to do it. Whatever's easy to remember. I'm sure localhost is easy to remember, but you can just copy paste it if you're ever in doubt. So here we go. That is running. Let's go to admin and see our beautiful admin panel. Username. Oh, we don't have one set, I don't believe. So we've got a dashboard and we need to create a super user. So let's do that now. Python create super user. Leave username. Yeah, I think squid's fine. Email address. I'm not going to put that in. Password. You can do really whatever you want. I'm going to type 123. It's going to say something like, hey, that's not a good password, Jordan. Yeah, I'm going to bypass the validation and create it anyways because I don't want to miss my password up 100 times for you guys. So that should be good. Run through your setup, log in, and create 2 to 3 blog posts. So let's play with this a little bit. Log in, squid, 1, 2, 3. Great. So get groups and we got users. I'm going to create a user, add a user. I think I already am a user as Squid, but I'm gonna go ahead and create a different one just in case. Who do we have here? Robert. Your password, Robert, is going to be Robert in lowercase. Oh, I bet it's going to yell at me. Let's see if it doesn't. Yeah, too close. All right, we're going to give you a real complicated one. No, so I wasn't going to do this. Great. Now let's create some posts. So notice it's going to look a little bit like our models. It should reflect most of what we got. So it knows author is going to be a foreign key to the user model. We have created users. If you look here, I've got Robert and Squid. So when I go to create a post, it's going to give me a drop down because it is a foreign key. So it knows what the authors are. So I just got to pick one. It did that for me. Is anyone confused about that? Title of Robert's book is Robert's Secret to with mustard. Sounds good to me. Just do it. We can throw in today's date, we can throw in today's time, and save and continue editing. Wonderful. Or sorry, we'll just save it. That's what I meant. I'm going to create another 2 real fast. Book 2. Save. Oh, goodness. That's a Robert book. And we'll do one more for Squid. Squid's going to write a book. Book. Cool. Easy peasy. Didn't have to build a front end, and I'm interacting directly with the database. We've got stuff in there. We're looking good. Cool. That's done. Any questions about what I've done here or how that worked? All right. So let's build out something actually, web design-y. Let's register our blog's URLs in the project's main site. So that keys me in to go to my site and its URLs. Oh, sorry, down here. I don't love all that boilerplate. Django.urls import path include, we know this, admin, great. URL patterns, we're going to leave the admin path there because we're actually going to use it. We won't be overriding it this time. And I'm really just adding this. So we're adding posts and include that in blog.urls. We're going to have a path called post. Next, create blog urls.py. All right, in blog, we're going to create a new file called urls.py. And here, we know we need this stuff, and we are going to say, hey, this is you go to posts. This is the beginning. This is the root. You go no further. You add no more, to the URL, and we're going to call this post list. Generally, your first page is going to be your list of everything you want to see in the most simplest kind of applications. If we use this as a kind of template, I guess, of what we want to do, not to be mixed up with other templates. This is a list of everything, all of our posts. So we're going to be replicating that and saying, hey, yeah, the first page you go to, I just want to see a list of posts. Now in views, let's serve that. On brain, there it is. It's in alphabetical order, isn't it? Django shortcuts, we're going to be using the render. Models, let's import that post model and create a endpoint here. It's going to be called post list. It's going to take all of the posts ordered by published date and then return render them, request blog / post list HTML, and we're going to be giving it posts as data. What do we have to do next? You don't even have to read the curriculum. What do we have to do next, class?
Create that template. Post
That's
list.
right. We have to create this template. All right, let's do that. So in blog, create a new folder. Let's don't call it template. That'll mess you up for a long time, and you're going to feel not like a real smart instructor as you're trying to figure out how to teach this. In there, we're going to make blog, and then post list HTML is going to be within there, which we said we're going to create. All right. We do all the controller logic before passing out the objects from the database and templates. Great. So what that's basically saying is we're going to be, it's not super important, but something that I want to talk about just a little bit real fast. When we first started playing with Jinja, I was seeing stuff that's not necessarily wrong, but not what I would consider conventional or easy to read. You want to do as much logic as you can to break your data up into the smallest portions you can in the most usable form here in views. I don't want to see you hand a complex data object to HTML and then break it down with Jinja, because that's you really want to keep your work where your work belongs. Your work is either it really should all be done in views. Get it to a simple dictionary or a list, and that is when you want to send it off to the templates. Don't be doing any kind of complex data building within Jinja. It's not really for that, and it's going to be confusing to anyone who's kind of coming and looking at your routes. They want to see what this route does. If this route hands it some object that is complex or seems to be telling you what it's doing, and then you get to the template and it's doing all kinds of other weird data manipulation, you really want to keep your work in views, and you want to just do your templating, just your displaying in Jinja in your HTML. So okay, here we go. So now that I'm done talking about that, we got a div, we've got a tag, we've got the URL for post list, which is going to be pointing at this one. Yep, this post list name here, and it's going to be called my blog. So we should have an anchor tag tied to my blog. It's not going to be real pretty. It's just a div, and then we're going to iterate through the posts, which is just a list of dictionaries giving the post title, publish date, and I should have looked up what this is. Line breaks BR. Okay, that's probably going to. To me, that says if there is text, paste it. If there's not text, do a line break. I'm 90% sure that's what that means. And by line break, I of course mean these guys here. I think of like that. Is that right? No, it's just like that. Those guys. That's my guess. Somebody Google that and tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay, so that's running. Let's see if this is working the way as intended. Why module blogs or blog.urls? Let's see if that just needs to be restarted. Okay, cool. Looks good to me. We've got my blog. This is an anchor tag to the post list. Really, that should just take us here. This just brings us back to the main page. But the reason this is here now and in post list, a link that basically just refreshes the page, is we've talked about extending templates. So later, we're probably going to be using this My Blog button on every other page, is my guess without looking ahead and reading. I don't think any of these links will work, but as you see, we got a header tag, href, published by, it all looks good to me. This is what I expect to see. Any questions before we move on? We'll be moving on now. Styling. Have we done styling in Django? Anybody?
Not yet. Officially.
Sick. All right, we're gonna be putting generally, this isn't just a Django thing. This is a pretty common web dev thing. Convention is the word. You're gonna put styling, pictures, any kind of stuff that's not going to be changing. Anything that's gonna kind of just be sitting there, not subject to change, and just kind of styling your pictures. That was going to go within static. Let's see. All right. Sorry, I got a bad habit of reading Slack when I'm supposed to be doing lectures. My bad, y'all. This is Bootstrap. I assume we've seen Bootstrap before. Someone say otherwise if that is not true.
Yeah, but I mean, if you just want to talk a little bit about it, it won't hurt, I don't think.
Cool. Yeah. So what bootstrapping is, you're going to see this. We'll get a lot more into this when we get into React. We won't be touching it too much, but basically, it is a styling library. So what it will allow us to do is, Bootstrap is a library that allows you to bring in HTML tags that refer to Bootstrap. So you got your basic div, h1 div, but Bootstrap and also Google, what is it called, Materials, and there's quite a few others out there. They will allow you to utilize these new tags, which are going to have kind of simple. You'll be able to use these HTML tags, and I have something like, I don't know. We'll get to it, but it could be like blue or something. And blue is not a real anchor, or I say anchor tag. It's not a real HTML tag, but maybe in Bootstrap it is. So if I were to use the blue HTML tag, that would have a bunch of styling that comes built in with this library. This can be these links here. You can either have the library loaded up into your application and reference it. So I could be pointing at, hey, my style sheet is actually coming from static/styles, or you could use both. I can also say, hey, I've got a style sheet here, but I'm getting it from this website. So you're telling your HTML to go to that website and borrow that library. You're not really pulling it in necessarily, but you are referencing it. It's an API. So that is kind of a cool way that HTML can utilize styling from other websites, from other APIs, just by plugging it directly in here. So all this is saying is, hey, reach out to bootstrap.com, go here, go to this version, go to their CSS, and I want this minimized CSS library, and I want this minimized theme, CSS library. And that is going to give us some kind of extra styling tools. It's a really easy way to get styling going quick, so you don't have to hand roll out all of your CSS. I believe this. I'm not going to talk about that if I don't know what I'm talking about, but we'll see this in action here shortly. Oh, and actually, what this is really truly doing for us is not giving us new HTML tags necessarily, but it is going to edit what these HTML tags, kind of their default styles. It'll be referencing either a CSS blog, which is telling you, hey, all H1s and H2s, you're going to use this color. These style sheets are going to be doing something similar to that. They're going to be overriding the default styling of a lot of our HTML tags. But you'll kind of see it in action. And as we get more into styling in React, you'll see kind of the extent of what these can do and how they can save you a ton of time. So back to post list. I think we're just going to copy all that. In fact, does anything change? All we're really doing, but I don't want to make any mistakes. All we're really doing is adding this header here, but I'm just going to copy it and overwrite just so I don't cause any problems later. And as I was talking about, our CSS, we're going to be putting that in the static directory within a CSS folder. So here we are within blog. I don't like that. Create a folder. This is going to be our static folder. This is where we're going to put all our CSS and pictures. Let me do it this way, actually. Sorry, we're learning together. Does that create a folder within a folder? Heck yeah, that's awesome. And then a new file. What is this file supposed to be called? Yep, just blog.css. Within there, throw some CSS magic in there, telling our H1 tags, H2 tags, they're going to be this orange color here. And the body, we're just going to be padding everything in the body to the left 15 pixels. Oh, and since we did create this CSS style sheet, we're going to be adding that into here as well. I kind of mentioned we can utilize Bootstrap, or we can create our own, and we can create our own. You can do it all. We'll just throw that in there. Let's restart the server and see what's going on. Hopefully nothing's broken. Oh, invalid block line is static. Did you forget to register or load this tag? Static. No, I don't think I did. What's going on here? Did I make a mistake? Let's back up.
There's some ginger that says load static.
Yeah, did I miss it? Did I not see? This is what. Oh, right. No, hold on. Where do you see that?
At the top of that HTML you're on right now, there's some ginger that says load static.
Oh, see there? Yeah, I missed it. That's what I get for trying to see. You always run into what I would like is if somebody who had a lot of time on their hands went in and said, hey, this is the new stuff I added. But it's really easy, so you don't get lost. Just kind of copy and paste it. But I found when I went through Platoon that it was very, I don't know, overwhelming when they just said, oh yeah, look at this new file, just paste all over it. It's like, I'd like to see that the new stuff is, but so we added this, but we're also going to be loading static. Good catch. Let's try again. Cool beans. All right, so as we see, we changed all of our header tags, both H1 and H2 to orange. And we've buffered everything to the left just a little bit in the body. So everything. Body. What does it say? We have body here yet? We don't. Interesting. So I don't know if we're actually buffering it to the left yet, because we don't have a. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? This should be affecting the body tag, but we don't really have a body yet, so it's probably just the stock standard adjustment. Continuing on. We restarted the server. It's good. We want to make it better. Let's bring external font into our header by adding this. I talked about Google's API a little bit earlier. We will be using it now, and that will be adjusting our fonts a little bit. We're going to be gaining this font family called Lobster, evidently. So let's just put that in here, I guess. Or should I just copy it? Did I learn my lesson? What else changed? Loading our static, adding this link here for the Lobster Latin. Ooh, we will be. Do we have that yet? Sorry, I'm getting a little too lost in the sauce looking at this. This is going to be allowing us to add these classes here. This call MD8. These are going to be kind of coming directly from this Google API. So when I was talking about adjusting the header tags, I was confusing my React. What it actually does is give us these classes that are already built in, like class row. We didn't have to tell it what to do for that. Or do we do it down here? Yeah, that's built directly into our Google API. So let's copy this. Front end is not my strong suit, guys. Sorry. My explanations are very back end. Cool. So we pasted that in there. We've got some new fonts loaded up, and now we're going to be adding quite a bit of stuff to our blog.css. I don't want to go over all of this, but we are adjusting, or rather, we're creating a page header class, content class, date, save, post form, top menu, all of these classes here. Great. Now let's refresh the page and see what we've done. Whoa, look at that. Ain't that pretty? We've got this sweet font. We got that from Google. We've got, you know, these, I guess that's the main things we did. A lot of font adjustment, a lot of color changing, but it's looking more and more like a real site. We've still got this floating banner at the top called My Blog. Okay. So that sort of looks good. It's not like a full CRUD website yet, but we're going to get into templating before we get into CRUDing. So as you may know, as I probably did not describe very well, templating is where you're taking HTML and CSS, putting it in a template, and sorry, let me back up. We're going to be extending by taking like some HTML here, registering that as, hey, this is a block of HTML that you can use other places. And then we want to use it on other HTML files. We can just kind of plug it in as we see fit. That way we don't have any replicated data. So the whole don't repeat yourself, you can get away with that in HTML as well. If you've got something you're going to have on every single page, or if you want something that's floating at the top like a banner, it makes a lot of sense to create a an extension, or rather, yeah, so an extension of the banner that you want to see. So every page that you want to see that on, you're not going to have to rewrite the banner and you know, use this class and multiply it everywhere. You're just going to use a single template that kind of plugs it in there. Cool for right now. Really, what this is useful for, I guess, is it's kind of warming you up into React components. React doesn't necessarily use HTML. It creates HTML from something called JSX. And what you're going to be doing is building a bunch of tiny HTML components and then running them all together. This is similar in execution to that, but this is a little bit more heavy-handed. We're straight up just creating HTML files and replicating them on other HTML files. I'll read through this. Template extending is an act of writing HTML, CSS one at a time, writing a template, and using another file page is extending. Think of Amazon. On every page, there's a similar code at the top, you know, the banner, everything we've talked about. So this floating banner, sort of. Do you think they write every bit of it? No, they extend it. And they do that with templates. Well, I'm pretty sure Facebook's written in, I'm pretty sure it's written in React. I'd have to double check that. Man, I'm really thinking it's actually written in Angular. You can also think of this as a form letter. A company will print out a templated letter and substitute in your name at the top. Yeah. We're beating this over the head. So what we're going to do is all of this stuff that we kind of want to see everywhere, this blog title, these links to these style sheets that we want to be able to use on all these different pages, all of our head content, we want to basically create a base model or a base HTML file that we can reference back. So this is going to be basically every single file, every single template that we're going to be looking at is going to be this main base, and then whatever the individual pages we're going to, those will be built here. So every single page that we're doing, to reiterate, is all of this header, all of the links, the top, you know, a little bit of a containers, the rows, building out how it's supposed to look, and closing it all up. And then the individual pages are going to be here in the block content. So that's the way HTML kind of does it. You've got your main base file, and then everything else is just going to kind of get plugged in from there. So let's close all this. I wish it all closed when I'm done with it.
Quick question, Jordan. So the way the base template is set right now, basically you would only see my blog, the header on top.
Yes. If you could, if you did just visit if we pointed you to the base.html, yeah, it would just be this. The thing is, we're not ever going to point you to base.html. It's just going to be something that's the starting point, and everything else is going to be loaded into it, and then we'll display the finished product.
Yeah,
but you're never going to
see. It's pointing at post list still. So
yes, exactly. So let's create that. Yeah, and this is, I mean, it's not super, for me, it always feels backwards. I feel like I would want the base as something I'm loading into each of them, but it's really, I guess, however you want to think about it. You can either think of it as, here's the file, and then plug in your base, or you can think, this is the base, this is what you're always seeing, and I just plug in the other content. We'll see it in action. So base.html, we're going to be ripping out all of this from the posts list. So once it's here, we don't really need it in posts lists anymore. Full list.html. That's supposed to be post, isn't it? Oopsies. Yep, they look very similar. So let's see if that's true. Yeah, it's a lot of the same content. All of this does not need to be in post list. So we're going to rip out everything from post list and really just bring in what we want the list or post list to be, which is the list of posts. So we're saying, hey, this extends blog base.html. This is the block content. So start it here and end it here. This is our block of post list.html. And then nothing else is really going away. We still want this Jinja here iterating through everything. We're just wrapping it in the block content and the extension. Whoa. Okay, much cleaner, much more concise. We don't have any duplicated data. Let's verify this actually works. Nothing should change if I didn't mess up. Looks good. It's all the same. Wonderful. We're just actually utilizing two different templates right now is all we really truly changed. Extending templates. So we've got our base, and then you've got the blocks. Now we're going to extend other pages. Let's walk through this and see. So right now, our template extending only goes to a full list of posts. Let's change that so that we are tackling an individual post. Let's start by changing the href in postlist.html to use the URL helper. What is it talking about? Okay, so the href was just going to this empty block here. We don't like that. We're going to use the extender or the extension so that we can reference the URL by name that we gave it in urls.py. Remember, we want to always be referencing this if we can. And that saves us work and bugs down the road. Oh, and we also changed where we're going. This href was just giving us, you know, /. This was taking us to posts /. We've updated it. Give us the URL for post detail, which we haven't created yet. Don't worry, we will. And it said it's going to be feeding, or rather using the post ID as the argument, and then the post.title is going to be. So right now, if you click on these, wow, it already picked up the change. If you click on those, it's just taking us back to the main page. It's not what we want. We're going to create a detail. Yeah, I refreshed it. I should have waited. That's okay. So we've said we're going to create this post detail. Let's go and create it in the order that we feel like doing it, which is going to be the URL first, then the view, then the template. You can do it in any order you want. You got to have all three. So urls.py within the application. Truly, we're just going to be adding this new path here, that post detail, which is going to take an integer. So it's going to be URL/post/ it's just going to take an integer, and that is going to take us to our post detail page based off of whatever that integer is. Should iterate through our posts and give us the one we're looking for. So to our views, which is going to be handling this URL route. Find post detail. It's going to take a request. We know that. And that post ID we were talking about here. It's going to set a variable post. It's going to go to objects and it's going to get whatever ID you gave it. So whatever argument is here, it's going to use that as the ID when it looks up post. And we are going to render the request. We're going to give them this post detail HTML, which doesn't exist yet. We'll do that and respond with this post dictionary that we will be able to reference here in our template. Close that, close that. Don't want to look at that no more. We don't need that. Let's create this post detail.html. So new file, post detail.html. It all starts to feel a little repetitive, but man, it's a good thing to be repetitive when you're learning Django. Copy. Let's see what this is all about. So this is going to be extending the base.html, and here's going to be our content here. We're saying, hey, this is the block content for the detail page. Got a class called post, looks good. If there is a published date, show me the date. Create a div, call it with a class of date, and then give me that published date. Close that if statement. Then show me the post title and give me the post text. If there's no text, give me a line break. Easy peasy. We don't have to break all these down, but I just don't want to go too fast through all of this. I think we can go look at this now. Did it break my server? Oh, yes, it does. It's telling me blog. So just looking at this, no module blog.views. Oh, guys and gals. I didn't even do it. I was talking about it. I said, yeah, it looks good. And remember, Jordan, let's just take the whole thing. Goodness. Can't say what I want to say because it's safe for kids, but it's a certain type of bird. And I want to see our work. Can we go here? Great. So now clicking on these should take us, remember, probably beating you all over the head with this, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page because we're doing a few different things at one time. Our base HTML template, great. Got all the stuff we need for everything. It's got this main template, or sorry, banner up here. Great. We go to the list. List is going to be an extension of the base. Great. It's going to be giving us these posts one by one, iterate through the posts. This bit here, this tag, this anchor tag, is going to link us to the post detail, and it's going to give post detail an argument of the ID. So whatever this post is here, it should give us the ID in the database. If these are in order, which I think they are, that should be post 0. This should be post 1. This should be post 2, unless IDs start at 1. Let's find out. That one's 1. I was wrong. So then it's fair to say that this one is number 2. Yep, detail 2, which is going to post detail, hitting this view here, pulling that ID, which is this argument here, this number 2. It's going to our post.objects models, getting the ID, serving up post detail.html with that post that it just pulled out of our database. And now we are going to create a template for it. Again, extending base. It will have the published date, and it's going to be showing us the title, the text, which it sure does, with no way to get back. But if this still works, that ought to take us back to posts. Is anyone lost? Are we all good? Because we got a little bit left, but I don't want to continue if anyone's lost. All right. Now the part that's new for me. I mean, not that new. I did look over how to do this first, but it was cool because I didn't know this was a thing. Let's get our forms going in CRUD post by creating a forms.py. We could very well put this in the template. I think the reason you wouldn't want to is HTML is not real flexible. It's very simplistic. It's only got so many tags, and modern APIs really want better, I guess, communication between themselves and the HTML. So we're going to build something that is going to look like a form in HTML, but it's going to have some modern kind of Python built into it, so we can get some extra toys. All right, so within blog, which is our application, we're going to create a forms directory. So we've got our static directory for all our cool styling. We got our templates for all our cool templates. Let's create one called forms. Forms, right? Oh, no. We're just creating, sorry, it's not a template, or it's not a directory, my bad. Get rid of that. We're only going to have one for right now. New file. This one is called forms. They're all going to be here. Forms.py. Again, like I said, this is new to me. I wasn't quite sure the manner in which you do it, but evidently all of your forms are going to be a one Python file. That's how Django wants to see it. From Django, import forms. This is built into Django. From our models, we want that post model. And then we're going to create a new class called post form. It's going to create forms from the model form. It's all magic from here. Meta class. It's going to have a model post, and it's going to have two fields. So this is going to be in reference to the post, and then we'll have fields here. If you want a better explanation of all this crazy stuff, probably look at the docs on forms. But for now, this is how they work, and this is how you will do them. There's probably a lot more you can do with these forms, but we don't want to get too into that. We're really just showing off that Django can create its own forms. The magic comes from forms.model form and the meta class. A form will auto magically get created for us. Let's create a link for a user to create a new blog post in base.html. Oh, it doesn't tell me where to put it. So we got to figure it out ourselves. That's what I get for complaining. So where do we want to put this form as a class so I don't look stupid? We're all going to look stupid. Where in base.html should we put this form, y'all?
Page header.
I agree. Yeah, we can put it really wherever we want to within the header, huh? It just needs to be kind of up here. I think, oh, hold up. That's the title, but we need to put it. You think the header? I think it goes on the body, but let's
What
find
about
out.
line 11 through
Twice.
oh, now it's 15 through 17 because you have a class page header and then
Oh no, what's going on here? Oh god, that you can Command Z quite a few times, guys. Let me find my work. Can you Control Alt Z on this? Okay, great. Don't do that. All right. That was Matt, right? Matt. What do you prefer?
right, yeah. Line 12 through 14, you have similar code right there. Does it go right there?
Yeah, keep
I
the
would-
buttons together.
Yeah, I would think so. I would certainly think so. If we put it up in a header or in the head, I don't know if that'll actually display to the screen like we want. Generally, you don't put anything within these tags that is going to be interactable. You don't want any text in here. You don't want any buttons in here. That's just kind of like, this is all my homework. This is the title, which this title, if y'all recall, is actually this up here. Not this, it's going to be this up here. So yeah, I agree. Let's put it within the body. I was playing with this last night and I was like, oh my God, I put it in the wrong spot. It looks stupid. Okay. Yeah, we'll put it right there, I guess. That looks good. Wonder if we can see this just yet. Oh, right. Okay, so we're putting a button in here that takes us to a URL called new post. Why doesn't that work?
I think you only need the link. You don't need just right below H1. You just add the anchor, and you don't need the extra stuff because it's already there. Now you have two my blogs and two.
Oh my gosh. Good
Haven't
catch.
made it URLs or views yet. So
That's what I was looking for. Okay, so it wants. Yeah, so we need to pull this one out. Yeah, so we need to pull that out. And then, cool. Yeah, that looks good. Is that good? Do we agree? Do you see what I had to do? I had to delete the other.
Now
my
the
post.
styling's gonna be a little different though, because you have a div class page header, and then well, no, you've just stacked it another div class within the first one, so
Yep.
you don't really need both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably don't
Probably
need that, do you? Yeah, that should probably go away. That should probably go away. And then that should just be right there. Do we agree? Does that look good? Look better anyways?
Yep.
And if we want to get a little fancy, I would like to do that. So I don't want one line all this stuff. Span is within the anchor tag. Cool. And yes, we didn't create a new post, so we need to go do that. All right, let's add that in the order of URLs, views, and then templates. Let's go see our views. No, sorry, I did that backwards. Let's go see our URLs. Cool, here's our new path. Let's throw that in here. This one is just going to be called new. This will probably serve, if we look at it, it'll just say post/new. This is going to take us to the views page, or sorry, the views, Python file. Hit that function called new post. And by the way, this URL is called new post as far as Django is concerned. Let's go create this in views. We've added a few things here. So since we are going to, I will copy all of this, but I want to point out the things that are changed. We are now bringing in this forms.post form. So we created this file here. Where did it go? There. This class here, this post form. So we want to be able to use that in views. So we got to import it. Not crazy, just want you to see how it's actually making its way over here. So we're pulling in that post model, and then we're pulling in that post form to use it here. All we're doing then for new post is creating a file, or sorry, a temp, a view for the URL for new post. We're going to create a form, and that form is going to be created using this post form class. And then we're going to render the request, this post form HTML, which we have not created yet. And we're going to be giving it a form, which is going to be this form. And a type of request is going to be new. Maybe that'll play in later. Who knows? All right, now let's create our template. So within templates, blog, new file, post, form.html. Paste all that. Extends blog base as it should. Here's the block content, type of request. Okay, I think I know why we're doing this. Maybe if y'all are paying super attention, you would understand why this type of request is being passed in as new. Instead of just writing the word new here. The form is going to be a method post type. It's going to be using a class called post form, passing it a CSRF token so we don't run into any CORS issues. This form should be able to submit to the backend. So we're going to give it the CSRF token, which because it is coming from the backend, it has that and knows that exists. If you don't have it, you'll run into CORS issues. So do this for now. Form.as P. I guess it's doing that. That's a Jinja-ism, I'm supposing, or a Django-ism. So as P is probably going to be, hey, within a paragraph, create this form. Button type submit, save button detail. Button detail is all classes for styling. It's going to have the word save. So it should look like a form with a save button. It should have, if we look at our form real fast, 2 fields, title and text. So let's figure out what Django is going to do for us by creating forms this way. All right, all there. Cool. That's not where I want that. Let's see if we can't fix that. Oh, sorry. It's in base. Let's move this. Why is it like that? Is it maybe it was supposed to be within its own div, huh? Maybe that is why that was there, huh? I don't know. CSS can get tricky. Let's see. And we'll that out here. Does that fix it? Ooh, I made it worse. We'll search that out. We'll look at that later. Some of y'all who want to chase CSS issues can go look that one up. I'm pretty sure I just need to move Spliffcon maybe it should be there. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So let's just put it above it. Doesn't really matter. We can fiddle with it and fight with it. But here's our plus sign. So let's hit it and see if it takes us to new. Looks like it does. We're at the new URL, hitting the view, which is pulling in the form and some data about the post, or rather the post model. So we're going to create a new title. Does this work? We plugged in everything right. This should work, right? Let's newest post. I wonder if it knows what user I am. I wonder if this is going to work. I feel like this is not going to work because we're not telling it who the user is. But it's going to fail. That went in, didn't it? Yeah, it didn't show up here. So I'm thinking that wasn't going to work because I didn't give it a user. So we probably need to tell it, hey, you need a user. Let's continue and see what course thinks. Yep, right. Visit page, you'll see that it does nothing. Let's edit our new post function. So remember, actually not. Somebody tell me why that didn't work. Looking at this views.py.
Write a post method.
Not true. I got a post method right here, don't I? No, you're right. I don't. Yeah, I didn't save it right. Okay, so if request type post. So we want the new post to let's see. Okay. Let's copy this and talk about it. Oh, we need all this stuff too. What did I bring in? That at the top. Get some space on there so we can see what we're talking about. Okay, what I've done here, we're using this redirect now. I want to see date time. We'll be using it down here. I want to be pulling in the user from Django admin. Well, not Django admin, but the auth. So I want to be getting an authenticated user from our database. Great. let's copy this and talk about it a little bit. So we've got two different options here. Again, we're talking about the HTTP verbs. We have a get option or a post option. If you go to /new, it'll present you with a form. But if you post to /new, it's going to run this. So that's what we kind of want to see. If we go there, we're just seeing the form. We already know that. That's not changing. But if we actually try to create a form, it's going to send a post request to new post. And it's going to do the following. It's going to say, hey, I got a form here. It's from post form. And you're going to basically establish it here with the request.post. So that post request that you've made, we're going to be taking that and trying to plug it into the post form. If the form is valid, so there's some cool Django-ness, it's going to be looking at post in the post form and saying, do these line up? Is this fair? Is this a real post? Okay, it is. Let's take that post, which is let's create a variable. We're going to save the form, commit equals false. I don't know why it's doing that. I need to look that up. And we're going to say, so for every post, remember, real quick, real fast reminder, to post, you got to have a title, text, publish date. This one can be true. You don't necessarily have a publish date, but you do have to have an author. So we can't just plug a name in there. I can't just type in my name, Squid. I need to give it a real author, a real user. And to do that, goes all of this. To do that, we are going to go get one. So the post.author is going to be equal to user.objects.all-0. So what this is doing is kind of janky. We're not really we're not saying, hey, I'm the user and I want to do this. We're just looking at our list of users, grabbing the first one and saying, whatever post you make, it's that first user you created. So we're not really looking users up. We're kind of just giving it one, which is okay for now. Post, publish date, date time. That's why we brought in date time, just so we could plug it in now and say, hey, time now, that's your new date. Save it. And then we're going to redirect back to the post detail for the post you just created. So if everything works, you should submit the form and it should take you the detail for the post you just created with the form. All right, let's check our work before we get into that.
Quick question, that user comes from the Django admin where we created our users,
Correct.
the capital user.
Yeah, and I believe it's going to be the super user we created. I don't think it'll be Robert. I think it'll be Squid.
Okay.
So if this all works, let's try to create one. Let's make it something created from UI. Let's see if it breaks on us. Save. Wow, look at that. Created from the UI. Where's the user? We're not displaying the user, are we? That's okay. Because this blog, okay, I see what's going on. It doesn't, this application doesn't really care who the author is, so it doesn't really matter. But if we did print the author, I bet it would probably be Squid for this one, because it just grabbed the first user in the database.
Can't you click on it? Don't we have the detail view?
I don't think we're putting that in the detail.
Oh no, it's not. Okay, yeah, it isn't showing.
I mean, I want to find out. Ooh, will we be able to get it like this? I think we will. I don't really want that. Let's see. Let's explore it together. Ah. Oh, what is this? They're gonna break because it doesn't know how to get that. No, look at that. We fixed it. We made it all better. Yeah, so we look at Robert's. That is Robert. We created that as a Robert user. And this last one we created, as I assumed, it is Squid, because in our database, the super user was the first user. Robert was the second user. We're grabbing the very first user we get. So yeah, it's working as intended. Looks like we can now create a new blog post, read a blog post. What about update delete? Who cares? But we are doing CRUD, so this is important. This is the big new crazy thing. Oh, we're in detail now. All right, we're gonna get rid of the author because I'm pasting over all of this. But what is new here? What is new here? We're gonna be adding this button, which is gonna say, hey, you can edit this if you would like. So instead of just looking at this, we're also gonna have an option to edit it. This is a very common way to set up a website. You got your list, you got your detail. The detail is gonna have an edit option. From the edit option, you're likely, better not sign me out. From the detail edit, you're probably going to be able to delete it if you need to. So we're going to copy all over this. Pretty sure this button is the only thing that got created. Now, URL, edit post. As you all know, we need to go create it. Let's go create it. Repetition. It feels not great to sit here and watch me do these same steps back and forth, back and forth. I'll tell you what, though, it is a good feeling when you're developing to say, all right, this goes next, this goes next, this goes next. It all works. Great. New page. This. It all works. Great. It makes you feel real confident what you're doing, and it starts to really build up this foundation of how Django works. And you'll be a lot better at running into, when you run into issues, it's easy because you have to say, in your head, all right, well, I know the URL has to work. Is the URL there? All right, cool. It goes to the view. Is the view there? Cool. Is the template there? This kind of makes you better at Django, just running through it. I do like the Django course for this. Hopefully you'll agree. So, edit post. It's going to take an integer, but not to be confused with this one. This URL here, because this one is going to be the integer and then /edit. So it's that's how we know the difference between these two. In views, let's go add this bad boy. Edit post, brand new view. May as well put it. Yeah, logically it should go here. Edit post. It's going to take a post ID, just like the detail does. It's going to go get that post for us. If method type is post, we're doing two things here. Got it. Okay. So again, like new post, this is serving two functions. We've got the get and we've got the post verbs. If we go to posts /ID/edit, if we're just editing it, it's going to say, hey, here is the detail version, except this is going to be a form. So if we're just going there, which is the first thing we're going to see, it's going to create a form, but it's going to say, hey, the instance is the post that you got. So this post, this ID that you're going to at the URL, just plug that into the form. So as the user, when I go to edit it, I'm going to see a form as if we were creating a new one. But if it works properly, this is going to be a pre-filled form using the data we already have for this post, because we're doing an edit. This is an update. So the form, it would be really bad UI to say, oh, you want to edit this post? Here's a brand new form. Like, edit it. Figure it out yourself. We're going to be filling it in with the data we already know, and then it'll make it a lot easier for the user to actually edit it rather than have to retype it, because it is an edit. It's not a create a new one on top of the old one. It is, give me a form, fill it out with the data that I know that I want to see and I want to edit, and then let me edit it. So as we go there, we will get a form ideally filled out with all of the data of this post that we went to. And if we hit submit, it will post it, which basically is a rewrite. Just like if you were creating a new post, this is going to do the same darn thing. It is going to, except I don't like this at all. See, it's rewriting the publish date. I don't think that makes sense, right? Because it's already been published. So I don't know. I'm getting, Jordan, hurry up. Who cares? I would rather see, if I were to do it, if I were to do this, I would probably do something like, honestly, I
Could
wouldn't
we
change
add on
this.
like an edit? Could we add on an edit time and then just leave the publish alone, or would that
You
not
could do
work?
this. Really, what I would do is just plug it exactly back in. which you're kind of writing and when you don't have to. Yeah, I would just say, hey, post publish date is equal to post publish date. Don't change it, just leave it alone. You could have an option to edit it, just like the other ones, but I don't think you want to. I don't think you'd ever want to do that. That's not true. The date time has not changed. But you're right. You could have a edited by field if you wanted to, like last edited, but don't change that publish date. So yeah, that's how I would do this. Moving forward. Sorry, I know this is a long lecture, y'all. We're right at the bottom. But I'm trying to teach you good convention. Cool. All that works. Let's test our work. Let me read this. Note that we don't have a form for edit specifically. We're just going to reuse the form template. Try editing it. It actually works right out of the box. Yeah, we'll see. Let's edit this one we created from the UI. There's an edit button there. All right, cool. And editor. Save. Expect the detail. It's edited. Great. We come to the main bit. Yep. Look, we actually edited it. Great. Let's finish up. Finally, let's delete a blog post if we don't like it. Post detail.html. So we'll be putting this at the post detail. That's fine. You could also put it in the edit, whichever place you think it belongs. We're just going to be creating an anchor tag. The simplest possible way to do this. Let's throw it probably here. I'm going to give us a little line break. Good. I cannot write to save my life. Just give us a little space there. So this is just a URL to delete post. That's right. You're all thinking it. We got to go create that URL. Look at all this. We got the list. We got the detail. We got a new. We got our edit. We got our delete. So create, read, update, delete. That is a CRUD app. That is your. If you can do this, Code Platoon, it's success. You're able to create a real web app. All right, so again, views, delete posts. We know that doesn't exist. Let's create it. It's going to be probably pretty simple. Using Django, we can just invoke this post.delete. So whatever ID you give me in this URL, the delete post takes an ID and then /delete, which is, what this is. Hey, give them that URL, delete post, give it the ID, post ID. It's going to come to views. It's going to look up that post. It's going to delete it. And then very smartly, we're going to redirect back to the list, because that's ideally where you'd want to go. If we don't redirect them, you just look at an empty detail page and it'd probably be bugged or broken, or you'd be looking at an empty page. And as a user, you're like, well, did it work? I don't know what happened. We also could do a thing called a flash, where it's a short-lived pop-up that would say post whatever deleted, and it would go away either on a page refresh or it would time out, however you want to do it. Pop-ups will time out. A flash will only show it on the page once. Next time you come back to the page, it'll be gone. Just kind of little things, because as a user, it's not always so clear what's going on. Let's check this out. I'm talking a lot, but I think this stuff's important. So this is the one we created. Let's delete this post, delete it, gone. As a user, that's kind of scary. I don't like that. Generally, you want a "Are you sure?" button, or you want something saying, "Hey, you deleted it." If this list was 100 posts long, it wouldn't be very clear to me that I actually deleted it. So again, this is bare bones, but think about that when you're designing. You want some kind of feedback before you delete. You want you don't want somebody to just be walking through the app, accidentally delete something and be like, "Oh, your credit's gone." We're done with CRUD. Turn off the version. Okay, we don't need to do all that. Acknowledgements. Does anyone have any clear questions about any of the hour-and-a-half-ish lecture? Oh, no, it's not. Close. Hour-plus-ish lecture we just did. Thanks for sticking with me. I know it was brutal, but it was fun, right?
I appreciate how you went into detail on a lot of things. There's some things that I was confused, and you actually helped me out with the details. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Glad to hear it. I feel like I might drill a little too into some of these things, but I also feel like people tend to kind of nod their head when it's done in front of them. And I would like to at least make sure the important bits of this are reiterated over a few times.
And make me feel a little bit better. It is one of those things. Is I just do it more, I'm going to get better at it, right? I mean, I'm
really-
still. It just
True.
keep just going and put my head down and just do it. Okay.
Yeah, and I want you all to kind of feel like that. None of you at this point would I expect to get this and be like, yep, makes sense, got it. I mean, I don't want to make y'all feel bad when I'm like, as you all know, we need to do this, but I've been doing this for a little bit, so this is pretty obvious kind of stuff because this is how they're templated out. But you've not seen this before. This is not coding in JavaScript and Python. You know, this isn't creating variables, creating classes. This is all of that on the side, and this is a whole different skill set. So repetition will make this stuff more obvious, and walking through it and talking through it and having problems, honestly, is the best teacher with Django. Messing up, the spelling of one of these, and then, creating the URL, creating the template, and then it's saying, I don't know what template that is, or you don't have a template for that, or I don't even know what that URL is. That is when you start working back through it and saying, okay, well, hold on, let me start from square one. Do I have a URL? Does it match the URL I went to? It doesn't match the URL I went to. Why not? Let's go look at the anchor tag. Those are the kind of things that really shore up your understanding, I think. At least for me, I like to break things. I think that's the best way to kind of learn these frameworks. Because if it always works exactly right the first time and there's never any problems, I think it's easy to get lackadaisical with it and then just not truly understand the process. So if you're making mistakes while you're running through this, it's really a good thing as long as you're able to solve them. But repetition will help. And that's why no matter what we're doing it, I'm talking about it every time because I want you guys to truly understand it. That's why in the challenges, before doing anything, make sure you complete today's tutorial first. I want you to walk through this. I want you to make changes. I want you to play with it a little bit. Like when I was asking questions like, oh, what user is this? Why is that not here? Can I change this? What happens if I move it here? Do things out of order. I would, one thing I would really encourage, honestly, I wish I had talked about this sooner, is maybe do this once exactly, like this, and then go back a second time. And, this challenge down here is probably, pretty useful, but something that is a little bit safer to work on. Yeah, you don't need to worry about that right now. That's kind of just what I want to do for my final project. What's a little bit safer to do right now is maybe don't create a app called polls. Create an app called I don't know, dog names or dog types of dogs, and then go through here and build it out as you would do for that. That way you're not just copy pasting title, text, author. You're actually having to kind of think about these fields. You're actually having to think about the verbs and the nouns that you're using, so that when you're working through this, it's making sense to you, and you're building out something that is close to you, or at least you're having to work through, because you can copy paste through this all day. As you kind of saw, I could, for the most part, just copy paste every single one of these, not explain them, not talk about them, and I'd be mostly successful at the end. There's only a few little tricky ones in here, but I would really encourage you, after you've walked through this and feel like you can do it again, don't make a posts Django application. Make a, whatever you want, a shoes Django application, states, whatever you want. That way you'll be able to really hammer in what all of these different moving parts are and how you would leverage those yourself. Maybe make mistakes. Maybe say, well, I don't want to call it this, and see where that takes you. Or change, don't follow a convention and see why the convention is nice, or if maybe you don't like that convention. Play with this stuff. It's the best way to learn it. If you learn exactly like me, for the rest of you, some of you probably just read this and think, yep, easy, that's good. But if you're finding yourself struggling with this, if you're finding yourself not comfortable with this, and you're you're kind of trying to bang it in your head. Do it a different way. Don't just follow this exactly. Come up with your own ideas. Build an application tonight real quick and get the confidence to do that in the future for your independent projects, because it really is this easy. If you want to do your independent projects tomorrow and do a full stack Django app, you can probably do it. You don't need the React. You guys with this right here are capable of doing quite a bit. So I would encourage you to play with it. But that's it. I'm rambling. Any questions before I end this lecture that I probably should have stopped recording before I started ranting?
I have a question about Jinja and their use in links.
Yes.
How we kind of like write URL and then we reference the name that we gave the path. And then
Yes.
when it's something like the delete path or like I guess the edit path where you have like an integer that comes after it, I noticed
Yeah.
we wrote like post ID equals post ID. Is
Yes.
that
Okay.
optional to write it that way? Like, do you have to
Um,
write it equals something, or can you just write one post ID since they're the
No,
same thing?
so we are at this point, you're kind of replicating a variable name. So this post.id, so let's just look at this real fast. So this is the delete button. URL, which is, this is a Jinja thing, this is a Django thing. We're saying, hey, I'm going to give you a URL. I'm going to give you delete post. That tells Django, yeah, I know what that means. If I go look at URLs, you want me to take them to this URL, don't you? And then it's going to say, well, I'm going to need one of these. So the post detail says, yeah, for the post ID, I'm going to give you post.id. That is sending this post ID to views. So this delete post, this variable here, I don't know that you, I don't know, would that break it?
I'm asking because I've messed around and done it without the equal sign, and I
I
don't know
don't know if you need,
if I got lucky or whatever.
I don't know if you need that. I'm thinking about it. It's just an argument. It's just a positional argument. Does that break it? You don't need that. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. And yeah, good to, kind of see that. That's more for, just keeping it in your mind when you're doing this. You're creating a one-time use variable saying this is post ID and it's equal to the post.id. But yeah, you're right. It is just a positional argument. When it gets to the views, whatever it was called when you sent it there, views is rewriting it right now as post ID. I'm pretty sure if I called it, foo, it would probably still work, because the way functions work, it's kind of rewriting that. So we're gonna run out of these to play with. No, reverse for delete post. Yeah, I didn't like that. Okay, so it looks like it's optional. If you're going to set it there, it needs to match most likely this. It's going to need to match that. Optional, however. The reason you would do this is, let's say we had let's say our posts were, or our blogs, we had multiple blogs and multiple posts. If I wanted to do a delete, it would need to look something more like this: int blog ID / int post ID / delete. You could just hand it arguments. When we get to this point, we could just say, blog.id, post.id. But then you're kind of, now this is a very simple one, but you're kind of going to start maybe like losing track of where things are. And now you're expecting it to hand them positionally. Whereas we could tell it, this is the variable, use this variable when you go there. In views, if this function accepted a blog ID and a post ID, and you had it set up this way, you would need to make sure that your URL is sending them in that order, right? Just like when we establish a class, you could run a class, you could say, I'm going to hand you a name, a phase, a name, first name, last name, middle name, ID, and this, and you could remember to pass them in the exact proper order. But if you don't want to remember to pass them in the proper order, you can set them saying, hey, this is the name. This is the first name and a first name. So that's why you do that. And that's why that is an optional thing there. A little silly when done this way, but it's good convention, because if you start adding multiple arguments to this thing, it's a little bit easier to not break it in the future, because maybe you're messing around with it and you accidentally, do this. Well, now it goes into the function and you've just mixed up your post and your blog, and then it tries to delete it, but you accidentally deleted the wrong post because you went to the wrong blog. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yes, thanks for explaining it so well.
Cool. Yeah, I did think about that for just a little bit, but yeah, it is optional, but just like all arguments to functions that you can optionally give them names. Any other questions?
I have a question about when you wrote type of request and you said new and then edit. Was that just so it's appearing just like a title, or actually is it optional, or it has to be there?
What file are you talking about?
I don't remember what it was. It was like forms, I believe.
Are you talking about it here, or are you talking
Right
about
there. Actually, it's in your views, edit post.
Okay. And what are you referring to?
When you wrote type of request, edit, and then the other one you wrote type of request equal new. Like 41, between 41 and 42, and between 27, 28. Like what purpose does that serve? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's doing anything for us right now.
That was being called in the template, in the HTML template, to put up the word new.
Yeah, I thought I saw it somewhere else. Okay, yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's just being used in the post here to edit. Oh wait. Yeah, where's that? Oh.
Yes, the
Oh,
type.
here we go. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and that's just showing us when you're working on that form, because that form looks exactly the same when you're creating a new post or you're editing a post. That's just for the user to say, oh, I'm editing one, or oh, I'm creating a new one.
Okay, so it's basically a variable. Okay.
Yeah, that was just passing in a string to be able to use in the template to help the user kind of see where they're going. Anything else? These are all good questions, and they're things that I wouldn't think to go over.
I have a really obscure question that might be a little,
Yep.
I don't know if it's a silly question too, but I'm trying to figure out how, when we learn all this stuff, how we're going to be able to actually utilize our applications, like in our workplace or elsewhere. Are we going to learn how to like do that, put it on the web or whatever we have to do?
Yeah, we're going to learn to deploy. And there's a lot of different ways to deploy. We'll be learning, I believe we still teach Heroku. We might be teaching AWS, which is probably better. But yes, we will be learning how you deploy these to different hosts. You could deploy it on the cloud. I mean, there's a lot of different kind of things. If you're depends on where you go, where you work. You could very well just run something on a machine and have that machine on the virtual network. So we're all on the same internet, we're all working in the same office. I could have a computer that's just running my posts application, and I would set so instead of having to go to my exact IP/posts, I could use DNS. Man, what does DNS stand for? Why do I not know this? It's domain name.
Domain name server.
There we go. Yep. So DNS server is going to be, DNS server is redundant. It's going to be taking an IP and matching it to either an A tag or a CNAME, whatever it ends up being. So if anyone, I could create something that says, hey, my IP Actually, if you go to my IP/post, that's going to take you to, or that's not right. If you, I could take
It's
my
the other way
IP/post.
around, right?
Yeah, it's the other way around. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
I
You
could
go
say
you go
hit-
to like abc.com, it results to whatever your IP is of the server.
Right, right. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's how you would do that within a virtual network. Or within, I guess, any network. You would set a name and associate it with an IP. Or I mean, that's basically what you're kind of doing on the cloud, is you're putting it up on the cloud and then associating a name to that allocation.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to know if we were going to learn how to do it because it's also going to shape my personal project. I don't know if I want to do it for work or not because I work at the VA and I feel like I'm just going to have to give it to the IT people in VA to do since it's a complex network, I assume.
Yeah, I imagine if it's, especially if it's gonna be touching anything within you know, your job, you probably need to give it to them. But cool. All right. If there's no other questions about this, I'm gonna stop recording. It's gonna take me forever to upload.